Hi guys, it's Eclipse back again with another video. Today we are talking about the best weapons you can loot if you don't have a loadout. Sure, loadouts are often the best way to go when it comes to winning in COD Warzone. Finding guns on the ground is still a huge part of finding success in Verdansk though, and with all the different rarities available, it might be difficult to know how best to kit yourself out. I've put together a list of our favorite guns available to loot in Warzone for this reason. It's easy to get confused with rarities, weapon blueprints and all that, so I'm keeping things simple and ranking guns based on the actual weapon underneath them. As a general rule, rarer blueprints and versions of guns are more powerful, but different attachment combos work different for each player. Here's my ranking of the strongest guns to find in supply crates. Just to be clear, before I start I wanted to tell you that I will make this ranking using tiers. From tier 4 to tier 1. For those who don't get it, this means the tier 4 guns are the worst, and by walking to tier 1 they get better. So let's start. Tier 4 guns. 725 shotgun. The 725 is a hugely powerful gun in normal multiplayer. Take it into Warzone, however, and it doesn't quite cut the mustard. Increased health totals thanks to Warzone's armor system mean you'll struggle to one-shot enemies, and having only 2 shots available before a lengthy reload time means it's much less versatile than the R90 and Origin 12. You'll be able to two-tap people at close range easily, but will be massively vulnerable taking on squads of more than one. The next is MG34. This LMG can be found all over the gaff, and we just feel bad for your poor operator who has to lug this thing around. Sure, it deals a lot of damage, but you'll usually find it with 50 bullets in the chamber and a ludicrously high reload time. In addition, the iron sights on the MG34 are, in my opinion, super irritating to use, making it all the more challenging to actually succeed with the weapon. The other one is Kar 98K. It's supposed to be a bolt-action sniper rifle, but according to the testing exclusive ACE, it doesn't one-shot with a headshot. That means you're getting similar damage to the Dragunov, but with the fire rate of a real sniper. We'll see if any buffs come to the marksman rifle class for Warzone, but for now the Kar 98K sits pretty low for us. And the last one for tier 4 is MK2 carbine. It's pretty solid in normal multiplayer if you manage to get those one-shot kills to the head or chest. Unfortunately, that's not quite translated to the higher health totals in Warzone. You'll need to hit an enemy with armor multiple times to kill them, meaning the MK2 suffers from the same problem as the Kar 98K. Now let's move on to tier 3 guns. Dragunov. The Dragunov is a pretty fast-firing sniper, but it lacks one vital thing, the ability to one-shot an enemy with a headshot. The HDR and AX50 can both manage this, but you'll always need follow-ups with the Dragunov. Regardless, it's more useful than its marksman rifle contemporaries, and if you catch a foe out in the open from a vantage point, you shouldn't struggle finishing them off. The next one is P90. The P90 isn't amazing in normal Modern Warfare multiplayer modes. It holds its own a bit better here though. You'll pick it up with 60 bullets in the chamber and a super fast rate of fire. Indoors, you'll be vaporizing your poor foes, but be warned, this weapon loses power fast at range. The next is EBR-14. The EBR-14 isn't the most powerful of the marksman rifle class in sheer damage, but it can dish out pretty solid semi-automatic damage at an impressive range. Of course, a lot of the jobs it does are done better by the fall, but if you can't find one of them, the EBR-14 isn't an awful option. The other one is Model 680. This pump-action shotgun is fine for the early game, but you eventually end up having to upgrade, since unless you're super-duper accurate and hit all your pellets, the Model 680 won't one-shot reliably. The follow-up shot comes out slower than all other shotguns too, meaning it'll often be a case of you getting melted before you can hit them again. The other one, M13. This weapon is pretty easy to find all over the map in various states of decoration. You'll want to replace it pretty soon after you find it in all honesty. Sure, it's better than your starting pistol, and the 30 bullets in the chamber is decent enough, but it gets harder and harder to deal meaningful damage from further than a stone's throw away. And the last one for this tier, FN Scar 17. The Scar is a super common gun to find early on in the game. It's bloody everywhere. The high damage it puts out is always nice, but the fact it has 20 bullets in each magazine is just not good enough after you find something better, which usually happens. Now let's move on to tier 2 guns. PP-19 Bison, this thing has 64 ammo in a magazine as soon as you pick it up, and a lot of the blueprints you'll find on the ground like nursing death will have silencers on them. The PP-19 Bison is an ideal pickup for close to mid-range encounters, although you'll want something with a bit more range if you're aiming further away. The next is R90 shotgun. This is my favorite of the shotgun class for Warzone. 2 shots come out of it real quick, and unlike the 725, the R90 can follow up far more quickly. You can get 2-shot kills on enemies with full armor, and there are some generously kitted out versions like the Bloodhound, which has attachments like the choke to boost your range if needed. The next one is AK-47. The AK is a solid choice if you can find it on the map. It's rarer than your standard MP7 and FN Scar 17, but is worth picking up thanks to its high damage and power at all ranges. The recoil is a tad messy, but it'll melt off armor like no one's business. And the last one for tier 2 is FR 5.56. Sure, burst guns are pretty annoying. The FR 5.56 is actually a decent choice though. If you can hit all 3 burst shots, this weapon can deal over 100 damage per burst, with even more if you land headshots. Of course, you need to be comfortable with the gun for it to be worth grabbing, but you might as well give it a go. Now let's move to the best guns you can loot. Tier 1 guns. MP7, one of the most common guns in the game, the MP7 is extremely easy to get to grips with. You'll be finding these all over the place early in the game, including weapon blueprint versions like the Piercer. It's got a large magazine size, a fast rate of fire, and is pretty easy to control when you're using it. Basically, you want to be finding an MP7 during the initial looting rush. Oftentimes, you'll be finding yourself getting rid of higher rarity guns and replacing them with your trusty MP7. The next one is MP5. The MP5 deals slightly more damage per second than the MP7, with the caveat of having slightly higher recoil for longer range engagements, as well as smaller magazine sizes. Of course, it's well worth picking up if you find one, as you can absolutely melt through the high health total on single enemies. You'll just need to be careful when reloading is more of a concern. The next is PKM. The PKM comes back to the front line of weapons to choose in Warzone, mirroring the success it sees in Modern Warfare's ground war mode. You can get up to 200 ammo in a magazine, and the weapon's damage profile remains on point for long-range engagements. Essentially, the PKM is the quintessential weapon of choice for those of you after a bit of a hardcore, long-ranged LMG. The only issue in Warzone is its mobility. You'll move pretty damn slow and switching weapons takes a while, but if you're surveying and keeping track of the space on the map, the PKM does the job perfectly. The other one is Fall. The Fall is pretty trash in normal multiplayer modes. What's it doing all the way up here then? Well, Warzone has a pretty interesting and unique meta when it comes to damage dealing, and the Fall's strength is really boosted when Warzone's new health totals come into play. The Fall deals huge chunks of damage with every shot, ruining your opponent's armor extremely swiftly and putting them on the back foot. This is doubly true if you're hitting those sweet headshots too. The ones you'll pick up off the ground often have long-ranged scopes on them too. Give the chemical version a go especially. It's a pretty solid option with a big magazine and long range. And the last weapon on this list is M4A1. No surprises here. The M4A1 is constantly in the top echelons of our Modern Warfare best guns tier list, and it's no different here. There's even more potential with this one too, as we've found blueprints like Polytope and Zip Tie coming out of supply boxes. The M4A1 is a known quantity, solid damage and extremely easy to manage recoil, along with large magazine sizes and a decent bit of range. You're in safe hands with this weapon and should be able to hold your own in most situations. So guys, this was the whole listing from worst to best of the guns you can loot in Warzone. Hope you enjoyed and this video helped you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't lose any video. See you in the next video. And until then.